Good morning. Let's go ahead and begin class. We're beginning to narrow our discussion of media images. Today, we'll be talking about television a little more carefully, and in this case, we're talking about television drama and comedies. Before I go on, I want to stress the reason why I'm talking about television today is because most of us get our entertainment from television, right? So, just for a minute, listen to this statistic. The general public in the United States watches almost 30 hours of TV per week. Did you get that? Almost 30 hours. That's truly a lot of exposure to TV and TV images. That's probably a surprise to most people in the US. So let me start by bringing up the point that we tend to take TV and the images it gives us for granted. What I mean is that most people are really not aware of the patterns, meaning similar types of characters that we see in television dramas and comedy. We aren't conscious of stereotypes. The interesting thing for us is that many media experts will say that these characters, even though they're fictional, meaning not real, can influence how the public thinks about people who are in the real world. And as you might then expect, they can influence the real world itself. I want you to come away from today's lecture understanding that experts in our field of media studies believe more and more that TV can cause people to confuse reality with what they see on television. As students of the media, understanding the power of the media and the images in the media is really crucial for you. So let me give you the term we use for understanding the power of media. It's called media literacy. This term will be on the test. This morning, I'm going to look at several aspects of television programming as a way to help us understand the need for media literacy. The first thing I'll point out is the characters on TV are very different from the people we see in real life. This is probably not a total surprise to you, but let me spell this out in a little bit more detail with a few categories. Let's talk about gender on television. You'll start to see more clearly what I mean. So, gender. Now I want you folks to take a guess. Do you think there are more men or women in television dramas and comedies? Take a second to think about it. All right, the answer, and maybe this won't surprise you. There are more men than women portrayed on TV. Let me explain this for you. On American television, women have about 38% of the roles on TV. This is pretty important and interesting. Why? Because in the US, women are a little over 50% of the actual population. Half of the people in the US are women, but only 38% of the people on TV are women. Already you can start to see a difference between reality and television. Now, of course, there are a few exceptions. When we look at economic class, that is to say whether you are wealthy, middle class, or poor, we see an even bigger difference between reality and television. Almost half, around 50%, of the characters on American television are wealthy or extremely wealthy. However, the number of wealthy people in the United States is not anywhere near 50%. It's much, much lower. So again, we see that television is not a true mirror of society. Now, occupations. or meaning the jobs that people on American TV shows do. Here's where we find another interesting difference. Nearly 1/3 of the characters on TV have professional jobs or management jobs. So they are, for example, doctors, lawyers, office managers. But here we go again. In the United States, only about 11%, that's 11% of the people actually have professional jobs. So, once again, there's a mismatch between TV and reality. So far, we've seen lots of evidence that shows that television presents a very different picture from reality. But our media literacy doesn't end there. If you really want to understand the images in television, it's crucial to evaluate the role of stereotypes on television. Let's move on to talk about more common stereotypes. It turns out that most television programs draw on stereotypes all the time. Why? It's simple. Television program directors need to make the audience recognize the characters easily and quickly. Now let's talk about men on television. Just men on TV. On TV, we can see at least 2 ways that programs present stereotypes of men. One stereotype that we commonly see is that men can do more things than women, like have a powerful job, play sports, travel, drive fast cars, and so on. I'm simply saying that in general, men play a wider variety of roles than women. There's plenty of evidence to show that women show up in fewer types of roles. The second stereotype we often see is that men can solve problems without other people's help. And this image is all over television. And what about women? For women, there's one main stereotype on TV, and that is that women are all about relationships. TV focuses on women's relationships with friends, family, and children. So no matter if the woman is very smart or very professional or in a high position in her company, the main focus is her relationship with others. So, on TV, we might see a woman working in the office, but most of our conversations will be about relationships. That's enough about characters on TV and some of the stereotypes. Let's talk about some of the reasons why these images appear as they do on television. Here is the bottom line. Television is a product. TV is just like a car or a computer or a hamburger. So television shows are developed from a marketing point of view. Television programmers spend their time developing the kinds of entertainment the public wants to see. And they know that viewers want characters that are easy to understand and stories that are easy to follow. For the most part, we see people on television who are close enough to real people, and that's so people can follow the story and not get confused. But there's one more thing that we have to look at here. I said just now that people want stories and characters that they understand. But on the other hand, and now this is important, they don't really want to see the real world on television. They know the real world already. They want to see something different. And in many cases, they want fiction. They want fantasy. Now, media experts warn that the danger here is that if our television viewing is only fantasy programming, just fiction, then people will come to believe that the fictional world is the real world. They believe that media literacy, meaning teaching people about the images on television, is the way to prevent the attractive fantasy on television from influencing our views about the real world all of us have to live in. I'll wrap this up by saying that the implications of comparing the TV world to the real world are endless, and we're just now beginning to discover the topic, media literacy. So we'll come back to this topic next time. All right? Thanks a lot.